Thanks for tuning into this exclusive conversation with a man who I have the highest regard for, because he navigates through troubled waters like very few can, and all through the difficult times that we've had in our markets. His advice has actually been gold dust for investors. I remember a conversation with him during peak of COVID, 23rd March, I remember this, and he said, who knows, the bottom could be today. And that actually marked the bottom as well. But Mr. Ramdev Agarwal is not known necessarily for timing markets as much as creating wealth. And during these times, when there is so much of heightened geopolitical uncertainty, it's an absolute delight to understand from him over the next 25 minutes, how is he thinking of the current landscape. Mr. Agarwal, so good having you. Thank you so much for giving us the time.
Thanks for coming.
No, the pleasure is entirely mine and ours, and the whole network will benefit from this conversation. You've always spoken about buying fear, selling greed. And I want to introduce the element of immeasurable risk in the current context, because it's almost as if an uncertainty could hit you any given day, not necessarily because of Donald Trump alone, but because of all the geopolitical stress that is around us. How do you then, therefore, navigate the current landscape, sir?
Equity investing, whether you know it or not, there's always a risk. Okay, and all sorts of risks come. Global risk, local risk, geopolitical risk, risk of currency, risk of, you name, you can put every title and add up, risk to that. So there are, innumerable, infinite variety of risk. They are hidden. That's why equity investing is called risk investing. The risk capital, So it can hit you from anywhere. So you have to be ready to be, sometimes it is visible, sometimes it's not visible. Just that you are reading about Iran, Iraq and all, it's actually they are into war. We were thinking that when Trump comes, both the wars will subside. Now we have the third war which is raging, and that too full 24/7. So clearly you don't know how things will work out. And hence investing is part of that game. In 10 years profile, you'll have a tailwind for maybe 6-7 years, and 2-3 years will be tough. And within a year also, you'll have out of 12 months, maybe 5 months, 6 months will be tough period, and 5-6 months will be golden period. So right now we are passing through our share of tough period, and you have to just take it with a negative return, and see, even return, say 15%, it is also part of the positive and negative return. It's not plus 15. It is plus 20 and then minus 5. So we are in that zone of minus 5. So, and in fact, it is so resilient that actually it is not minus 5.
Yeah,
it is just about stagnant. Yeah,
that's true.
So it's very good.
So are you saying, sir, right now that when you're thinking of, or when you're investing your capital or your client's capital, you are investing with a belief or a knowledge or a hypothesis that the next 6 months there might be no returns or maybe marginally negative returns?
Yeah, I don't invest anything for 6 months. But say, what a company I'm looking at it. So I'm looking at it next 5 years, what is possible.
Right.
And first thing is, it's a good business, good management, growth is there. And then once all three elements are there, then is it reasonably priced? And that's what, because the market will always be in crisis, because nobody knows the value, everybody knows price.
Right.
And nobody wants to work around value. So ये हमेशा opportunity रहेगा बाजार में. Because there is not enough people who are trying to work around company's value. And that's what we do.
Yeah.
And once you understand underlying value, that 100 rupee thing is available for 50, 60, 70, and there is a good growth, just buy and sit. And one day morning you'll suddenly realize, I look at my own company. I know everything about my company. I am building it up, and yet market surprises me how it moves. So, so much for the...
Both positively and negatively.
Both sides, yeah, of course, both sides.
Yeah, can imagine. No, I didn't mean to say, sir, that you're investing for 6 months. But when you're buying right now, even for a 5-year period, you are okay with the outcome of the next 6 months not giving positive returns on those investments?
Yeah, I actually am interested in 5-year return. In the sense that, I have all kinds of stories. May not have time. Like one company I invested in 2003, for 10 years nothing happened. The companies kept on becoming more valuable, but price never moved. And then between 2013 and 2025, it is up it is up about 50 times.
Wow.
And I'm still holding every single share. 10 years.
How do you get that mindset to hold a business for 10 years because you're identifying value?
No, because I bought at 60% discount to the fair value, 60% discount. And every year, the value was increasing by 15-20%. So the discount became 92%. I mean, this is an extreme story. It doesn't, the system doesn't test your patience as intensely, but ऐसा भी होता है.
Got it. Do you find value in the Indian markets currently,
Yes,
sir?
yes. There are enough.
And
And for people who have my type of guys who have very limited amount of money, it's fine. The fund managers who are 30, 40, 50,000, you ask them, it is a challenge for them.
Did you say limited amount of money for you?
I have very limited amount of money. My prop money is very small.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have, see, my AMC has a lot of money.
Yes,
So
yes.
I mean, that's why I let the fund managers run, you know. I don't have that amount of energy nor...
I hear you, sir. Okay, so just coming back to my opening question, sir. You are saying, therefore, that when the risk is not quantifiable, if you will,
Yeah.
you kind of sleep over it with an expectation that there might be negative returns in the short term, and the long-term value will triumph over price, if you will.
I mean, good thing is that Indian economy is per se very protected. You know, in whatever shape it is very protected, and 6-7% growth is also, like every agency is saying that we'll grow 6-7%. And now we have a wonderful governor who is trying to push the growth to aspirational levels. Now, nobody can measure aspirational, but it'll be plus. If 6.5 was expected when he came in, I would put another percentage on that. So 7.5, 8 type of possibilities there. Whether it comes through or not, you wait for 6-7 months when actually the credit flow will start building it up.
Got it.
So, I mean, I'm an optimist. I want to be more optimist on the day on which the things are looking very grim. So this is the point of time. I'm also reading about what is happening to Iran and all. So it's a very concerning, but at the same time, it's okay. I mean, this too will pass, and we'll get a day when everything will be peaceful and headlines will change, and we'll talk about credit growth from 9% going to 13%, 14%. This sector is doing well, that sector is doing well. So those days will come, but when it is 3 months, 4 months, that's where the role of patience comes. So the bout of patience, see, patience, when is patience required? Patience is not required when things are going well. Patience is required when things are not doing well. Okay, and so patience is the biggest friend of a long-term investor. Look at Buffett. He's sitting with $350 billion of cash. You know? So, I mean, the kind of patience is required. The entire media, the world is watching him. You know, what amount of pressure he's facing. And still, he will do what he likes. So, it is about the patience. He's happy to be out of the market in the current situation. So, the patience has, I mean, and it will be very individualistic. Because in your mind, it is a risk. For me, my risk is only contained about oil price. If oil is available below 75, at 65, 70, I'm fine. It's just another day.
Got it. So, Indian markets, you have to admit, have been very well behaved in light of all of this as well. A lot of uncertainty, except for that May period when Operation Sindoor was in play. Indian markets, have you been surprised by the resilience?
Not really. I mean, I was expecting this because the capital flow into the economy is the biggest revolution India is facing. I'm telling you. Indian businesses never had it so good. Believe me. After 2020, the demat account revolution which is happening, the retail is coming in full swing. That is changing every aspect of Indian business. First, availability of risk capital. You look at the amount of capital which is available, and anybody can sell $1 billion, and the even stock doesn't move. So that has never happened, and not one ticket is happening like that. I mean, every week, 2, 3, 4 tickets of $1 billion is happening. So that's it's broadening the market, obviously, but it is also, kind of deepening the market and saying that yes, $1 billion, $2 billion is a pass, So it's making the market very resilient, and the flow of capital is still on, despite the fact that index in last 1 year has done barely 7-8%. And yet, it's not that it is the euphoric capital. Capital is coming despite the fact that market has done just about okay. So there is a clear shift from the fixed income to risk capital. I mean, so-called financialization of savings, which had to happen. You can't be 5-6%, 7% participation rate. So as we become from 4 trillion to 8 trillion, we might go to 15%, 70. We will become the most crowded equity market in the world in a positive way. Most crowded, and even number of stocks will be most crowded. Look at 300 million, 400 million dollar companies are getting listed. I mean, every day you have 2 or 3 companies. I mean, we might have 150, 200 listings in next 1 year. So at this pace, we might have 1,000 more listings in next 5 years. So 5-6 years. So what I'm saying is it will be a very vibrant market. Of course, there will be a lot of consolidation as we go along. A lot of companies will shut down, they'll fail. But a lot of stars will also come out from this. And I'm every day visiting various companies, and companies are coming here. And we are seeing it's a very different kind of a confidence among the corporates. And they're so happy to see 400 crores, 500 crores, 1,000 crores for their wonderful projects.
True.
You know, which was not available earlier.
Yeah.
At early stage, who was giving them 100, 200 crores?
That's true.
Today there is lineup of private equity, public equity, even the private family offices, they are giving money. So there's a lot of corporate activity. I think capital market is in a boom condition, not exactly vertically, but horizontally also.
Right.
So you see all the promoter holding. Promoter holding in India is about 45-50%. So out of 450 lakh crores market cap, 225 lakh crores lying with some 1,000 families.
Yeah.
You know, and now they are saying that, okay, we have our stuff, but let me diversify my own portfolio also. So they are selling at the margin 1 or 2%, 3%, and putting into the market, creating family offices and managing their wealth.
I have a question to ask you on that, and then I'll split the remainder of the conversation into 2-3 things. You spoke about some wonderful companies that you are meeting. Would love to know what attracts you quite a bit. I mean, what are conversations? Kahani kya hai? You always say, right, kahani kya hai? So, kaun si kahani achhi lag rahi hai? And then we'll also talk about the regime change that has happened at SEBI, RBI, and what it is doing. But first, a follow-up to what you just said, right? There's so much of talk which started with one comment from a senior banker that, you know, the next gen is not working enough, or there are not enough in business. And then I was thinking, when I scan around and when I talk to family offices or investment bankers, they are saying that if the next gen is not quite putting in the effort behind the business, but their capital is coming to 10 other businesses. And those businesses didn't get capital earlier. Now they are getting the capital, and in effect, that's not a bad thing. You just spoke about the same thing as well. What do you think about that? That maybe the scions of some of the yesteryear entrepreneurs are not building businesses, but a lot of newbies are building some brilliant businesses, right?
Yeah, so we have no dearth of new guys. I mean, to some extent his comment might be right, but there are guys who are also working very hard. You know, I mean, like my son is working absolutely full time. So it's not that there are not enough ambitious guys. Maybe it is the third generation which may not be working, or fourth generation which may not be working. And out of the full contingent, maybe some guys are not that passionate, some guys are very passionate. But good thing is that there are enough new entrants into the corporate world or entrepreneurship world, where, I mean, I went to IIM Mumbai, I went to IIT Mumbai. I think there are lots of kids who want to, I mean, they're in rapt silence when you talk about how I traveled from zero to wherever I have come and what it takes to be an entrepreneur. There is a massive interest. So I think, and then there is a lot of interest, and they have courage to become entrepreneur. And then on the other hand, there is a availability of capital. This confluence is quite crazy. And when I'm saying this, it is happening and it is becoming bigger. And as we go forward in next 5 years, because these things take time. Y2K happened in 95 to 2000. That time, even after Y2K, we did $5 billion export. Today, we are doing 300 billion and growing, counting. So this is what happens. This change, I'm telling you, this capital market change, this revolution, is going to, we wouldn't know where it is going to take us as a country, as an economy, and as a stock market.
If you haven't picked up your coffee already, please do. My coffee mug is slightly far away, so I'm not going to do that. But this coffee with Ramdev Agrawal is turning out to be fabulous. Now, Mr. Agrawal, all through our conversations, you've told me that you look at value, you look at price, you look at power of compounding, everything. But the first thing that you ask yourself or the entrepreneur, okay, boss, batao kahani kya hai?
Yeah.
Now, today you told me that you're meeting 3-4 companies a day, a week, or what have you. कौन सी कहानी पसंद आ रही है? Where are the stories? Where are the most inspiring investment stories coming out of India?
I mean, incidentally, right now, yesterday I was in Surat. Okay, some time back I was in Rajkot. So, जहाँ कहानी है वहाँ जाना पड़ेगा ना आपको.
हाँ.
See, आपके यहाँ साउथ बॉम्बे में तो नहीं बनने वाली कहानी, यहाँ तो खाली NBFC और एसआर मैनेजमेंट कंपनी यही बनने वाला है. So you have to go where the story is happening, because manufacturing, deep manufacturing is happening in tier 3 and all. Say we have invested in a company called Lahori Zira.
Okay.
Okay, in private equity we have invested. Now this guy, there are young 3-4 guys from Punjab, and they put up this brand. I mean, I believe he's not able to punch enough Zira bottles.
Okay.
Yeah, so now seeing his success, all the global brands are thinking of launching that particular genre. Yeah, so what I'm saying is that all our Jeera drink, you know, we have invested in them. So what I'm saying is, I mean, this is a new story. I mean, can we have our own Coca-Cola in terms of Jeera? You know, it's a 1,500 million people across the country, warm country. You can consume Jeera drink across the year. And I mean, even mom will not take, I mean, it's a fizz drink, but I think the whole family will look at it as more like a health drink. So these kind of possibilities are coming. I mean, this company can be, I hope it becomes a $1 billion sales company. Right now it might be 200, 300 million. So, and growing very rapidly. So we have given money to put up new plants, which will come up in next 1 year or so. And then we'll see the story. So like this kind of stories are there, like whether it's a chips company, you know, probably world's biggest chip companies, you know, would be coming from here. We have invested in one of the biggest diaper company in Asia, largest diaper company from Asia, because this is a baby factory, so you need diaper factory also.
Okay.
So like that, you know, but then the company is coming from, say, Rajkot, you know.
Yeah.
So it's not that what looks like a very sophisticated product, it has to come from J&J factory or HUL factory from Mumbai. No, it's not like that. It can be from anywhere. So you got to have your ears and eyes open and pick your bag and go. So yesterday, 6 o'clock, I went by train to Surat to hear one very interesting story.
Oh, okay. So that's the private markets which are rip and roaring. What about the listed markets, sir? Where is it that you find both the combination of a great story and good value?
Yeah, see, in listed market, good thing is that their quarterly decks are very highly reflective of what's underlying happening in the company. But in public market also, particularly below, say, beyond less than 10,000, less than 15,000. Lots of stories who are not coming in the radar of analysts and the fund managers. Because fund managers are busy investing in 300, 350 companies. Because of SEBI guidelines, you know, small and large is like up to 250. Beyond that is all a small cap. So, and then the liquidity also goes, and now for the large fund to invest 100 crores also becomes tough. So we are looking at some of those opportunities, which are almost like unlisted. Below 15,000 is unlisted, with a full listing, what you call disclosure. और बहुत मजा आता है, you know, like you can really ask questions and they will have patience. And but a deck is there, so you can, I mean, 90% of the story is known. When he comes and or you go and meet him, and then you can pursue it.
Got it. Sir, stocks पे तो बात नहीं करनी है, लेकिन कौन से sectors में, कौन सी themes में ऐसी कहानियां हैं?
कहानी चल के आता है.
But फिलहाल आपको कहाँ से चल के आ रही है? मतलब क्या डिफेंस से आ रही है?
डिफेंस है,
Okay.
कंज्यूमर है. सी हमको सेक्टर खराब है, अच्छा हमको कोई मतलब नहीं.
Okay.
इससे ये बंदा मैजिक कर रहा है कि नहीं कर रहा है. He has got jaw-dropping, you know, consumer experience in his product. People are dying to buy his product. He's booked for full year. Those are the things which excite us. Somebody says, "Sir, I'm booked for next 2 years." चलो भाई हम भी आते हैं आपके पास. You know, like that. So the moment consumer pull is there, whether even if it is B2B, B2C, whatever. I mean, if the consumer actually wants him, why we are excited about all this quick commerce? It's not that they are growing at 100%. It's the consumers who are dying to have their services. You know, so I am more concerned about, because consumer is going to be consumer. He'll be always demanding, and Indian ladies, they'll be demanding double. You know, so when they are demanding and they are falling in for all these consumer services, we should see whether they can make money or not.
That's so true. That's so true. So the regime change at the RBI and just the number of measures that the Reserve Bank has done, and every time you feel कि चलो अभी तो हो गया, इतना हो गया, they do one more thing as well, which has happened yesterday as well, right? What do you think of this regime change, and what does it do for NBFCs, for financials, and thereby for the whole lending ecosystem?
I think potential of the economy is definitely going up to grow, because at $2,500 we are nowhere. We are basket case as a country, but our competence is so high. We are rising just because of number of people we have. We are rising as clearly third economic and defense power in the world after US and China. Clearly India is a force to watch out. We are the largest military. We have sophisticated R&D. Though budgets could be a little bigger, but I think the kind of sophisticated capability we have. So clearly in this region, we are definitely rising. And this world will, the Sundari did that. I mean, people saw the capability of what Indian Army or defense and all three forces can do. So, so my sense is that the potential of the country is somewhat higher than 6.5%, maybe 7.5%, 8%, you know. So, and then I think one tailwind which is building up for the nation is the oil price. For last 25, 30 years, all the forex we earned in tech side, we have given it away to oil companies. Now, the world is awash with oil. And Saudi Arabia is saying, before America produces any more shale, I will flood the market and keep the price at 65. Because beyond 65, shale comes in action. So my sense is, we have a situation for a few years at least. I think we will get $65, $70 oil. Right now, because of the tension, that's okay. But I think despite this tension, it is only 78. So if this theory works out, that we are stuck at $65, $70 of oil, I think it will be very anti-inflationary. Rupee will remain very, very stable, and our current account deficit will also be well under control. So all sorts of problems will be sorted for this country. At the moment low inflation is there, I think hands of governor will be absolutely open to push for one CR cut, and I would say even second CR cut. Why do impound the hard-earned currency of banks at zero interest rate?
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, I mean they have all the tools to push the economy, and let's see. I mean it was a bit constrained last year. Now it will take another 6-7 months for it to for people to say, okay, credit is available. So I think let the credit flow improve. As the credit flow improves, I think the connection between the credit flow increase in the economy and GDP growth or nominal GDP growth rate is already almost 1:1. So I think let the credit flow pick up in the economy, which is now come down to 9%.
Yeah.
So that's, I mean, on a nominal GDP growth of 10-11%, how can you have 9%? Then are you going down, as an economy? So I think they have to do extra bit of push to, and when you push too hard, sometimes it goes to, you want 13-14, but it goes to 18-19. So even that likelihood is there for some time.
Got it. So you believe a cycle for NBFCs is underway?
Yeah, for all the lenders will have good time.
Lenders will have good time for the next foreseeable future.
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing, sir, is defense, right? And Operation Sindoor was a proof of concept, if you will. Now, a few managements that we've spoken, they said that inquiries have gone up, etc. But just broadly, what do you think of this whole defense ecosystem in India? You would have met so many companies.
Yeah. So, one of the pain point now, I mean, of course the orders are going to come. Government authorities, defense authorities, they are very, very excited about what is possible here, and they are being forced by government to buy indigenously instead of looking at foreign, alternatives. Because eventually you can't be $10 trillion economy and buying defense from outside. You have to, at a cost of whatever, you have to create your own defense mechanism. And when you become independent, you can be also an export house. I look at in automobile now. I mean, in two-wheeler came because of Hero Motocorp or Hero Honda, and Maruti brought the mini car. And today you are completely self-sufficient, and I think you must be exporting also those cars and motorcycles. That is possible because you have the huge domestic base. So defense also can be the same story, because defense production per se can be done by only few countries. China, Russia, America, and some European countries. But beyond that, there is no domestic consumption. So, but the smaller countries, they would need our productions and all. So there is a good market for well thought out defense productions, which we consume and then eventually offload. But we are in early stage of our own, development. What happens is that the moment war mongering goes down, I think the procurement also takes a slowdown, and that is not great thing for developing private sector defense. This thing, what you call supply system, because those companies, they have access private capital. They want very visible order and smooth flow of orders and all. So some company, I know last year a company made 50 crores profit out of this thing. He says, sir, I have put a lot of tenders, but I'm not sure whether the tender will come this year and I'll be able to sell this year.
Okay.
It might spill over to next year. So then 1 year on, 1 year off, then next year will be very big, you know. That is the biggest challenge for assessing value of a company.
Got it, sir. Okay. Okay. Well, so much to unpack, but we only have always limited time with Mr. Agarwal. But viewers, as we wrap up this conversation, we are going to do something very interesting. Back in 2017, we did a series of shows with Mr. Agarwal on the power of compounding and you know, the 4 tenets of investing. We are going to do a similar series in the short form of time, sometime in the next 6 months, where we'll get the genius of Ramdev Agarwal out there for all of you to understand how he goes about his whole process of investing, stock selection, selling, patience, and what have you. But Mr. Agarwal, such a pleasure talking to you today. Thank you so much for being with us.
No, thanks for coming. Neeraj, you're the best.
Thank you so much, sir. Really appreciate it. And viewers, thanks for tuning in this fabulous Coffee with Ramdev.